What up, party people? Hopefully that my headphones work for you. But I wanted to get in touch with you and chat about some pretty serious things. How can you make some serious change in your life in just a few weeks? Well, this is a conversation that I have with a lot of people. I'm trying to rest this phone against my computer, so we'll see how this works. This is a conversation that I have with a lot of people every day and week in and week out. And it's important because what we tell people is when you lose 25 pounds in 6 weeks, you don't do it accidentally. You've got to really make sure that you're doing all the right things. You don't just kind of, sneeze extra hard and then 25 pounds melts off. Really what's happening is you've got a system in place. You've got a process that does it. And when the motivation falls away, you can do it. So let's chat about this. So first off, when we're talking about losing 25 pounds, for most people, that's a pretty stress-inducing thought. Yes, they would love to lose that kind of weight. However, it's like, how have they lost weight in the past? How have you lost weight in the past? A lot of the times it's running until your eyes bleed or being on the elliptical, essentially sweating out what little water is in your system. And I say that because obviously I drink coffee all day. So when we think about, okay, it took me so much energy to lose 10 pounds and it took me, a month to do that. How much energy is it going to take for me to lose 25 pounds? And if I'm going to try and do that in 6 weeks, like how in the hell is that going to actually happen? So for many people, that's just basically they count themselves out. They're just like, there's no way I'm going to be able to make that kind of change if I set this goal and then basically I elliptical myself to death. I don't have the time. My job is important. My kids are important. My family is important. There's no way that I can put 30 hours of ellipticaling or train for an Ironman to basically get that off in 6 weeks. There's no way. And so what I want to do is I basically want to kind of open your eyes to a couple of things. Hopefully, one, this will give you a greater sense of all the little levers that you can pull. And then number two, I also want you to kind of increase awareness of throughout the day how you're sabotaging yourself if you're trying to lose 25 pounds. If you're very happy with where you're at, then obviously this is not a conversation that we need to have. But if you are not happy with yourself, if you're not happy with where you're at, if you're just like, man, I've got to make some change, well, here's what you've got to think about. So, number one, when you see some change, there's three things that you're going to need. So, number one is you've got to train. You've got to work out, and you've got to add some resistance training. You've got to create the stimulus that is actually going to say to your body, hey, buddy, like we need to make some change. Things got to be a little bit different. Okay, you can't just kind of go along at the same pace and expect anything to change. It's kind of like that definition of insanity. Insanity is defined as doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. You have to do something different that your body is uncomfortable with. And there's some concepts about minimum effective volume and maximum recoverable volume, but we'll not get into that. So for many people, not only do you need to elliptical, but you also need to build some muscle. You need to kind of you've got to add some resistance to your workout. Now, that doesn't mean you need to lift 200 pounds to be successful. Really, what we're thinking about is, if you spend an hour a day, 3 days a week, what you can do is you can do some full body workouts 3 days a week, and every week in some way, either adding more work, adding some resistance, moving better, or spending more time under tension, you can get better even though you may only start with 5 pounds. I remember that I twisted my ankle and then several months later, my wife and I had our son, and so I felt like a total blob because I literally, my ankle wasn't flexing. I couldn't run, couldn't do the stuff I normally did. And then when I started to move again and do lunges and squats, I was literally just doing my body weight when not that I lift a ton, but before I was only doing, 250, 300 pounds. So it was like a massive ego hit. And really what you've got to think of is like, listen, I'm building, I'm growing, there's no real finish line. I'm just focused on the process, and I'm adding a little bit of weight every single week. And soon enough, after about 3 months, I'm back at my old weight and I'm moving again. So for many people, what we've got to do is we've got to spend a considerable amount of time just gradually incrementing weight, increasing volume, and then creating, most importantly, what is the stimulus that says, I need more, I need to grow, okay? Now, once we do that, okay, if you don't know how to do that, I would recommend getting a trainer, asking somebody, finding a lifting buddy, and then starting out nice and slow and focusing on mechanics. Once we do that, you don't actually get strong in the gym. What you do is that's the call, that's the stimulus that says, man, that workout was tough, I feel terrible, I feel tired, I'm out of breath. The workout breaks you down. And what you need to do is you need to break down just enough that you can recover from it, but it's just enough that it also requires a rebuilding. Now, the two things that help you rebuild are, number one is you've got to have the material to build from. I'm sorry, there's like a helicopter outside. You need to have the material to build from. That comes from the food. And then number two, what you've got to do is you've got to sleep. You've got to have the time and the signaling part that actually allows this building to happen. What's up, Joy? So, number one, as far as the nutrition goes, here's the deal. We have a 23-hour rule here at the gym, and that is when you come into the gym, you can do a lot of really good work for 1 hour. And then the other 23 hours when you go home, you completely forget about all that health stuff. You overeat, you stay up too late, you're on Instagram or Facebook for too long. And then basically you're stressed out, you don't get enough sleep, so that's stressful. You wake up and you're immediately thinking about, oh man, all the crap that I've got to do. So number one is you've got to get some more sleep. We're talking, 7-8 hours, at least more sleep than you're at. So if you're at 4 hours, we've got to get an extra half hour. Set an alarm to go to bed. You set an alarm to wake up. Why not set an alarm to go to bed? Okay? You know that those hours very late at night are not productive hours. Trust me, you're not waiting for something exciting to happen on a Tuesday night. You need to go to bed. You're going to wake up more refreshed. You're going to wake up. You're going to be able to show up better. And you're going to be able to de-stress your body, remove a lot of stuff. You're going to be able to take all this kind of short-term memory that you've gathered over the day. You'll be able to shift it back into long-term memory. And you're going to be able to clear your brain from things like the amount of caffeine that you drank, as well as obviously take all that short-term memory and kind of dump it out so that the next day you can think. Back to the nutrition. Here's the deal. For many people, when they think about losing 25 pounds, when they think about eating, they obviously think about a diet, but they think about a diet in the extreme. Okay, my diet has been terrible. I have been all over the place. I have no routine. I need to get on this juice cleanse. I need to get on this keto diet. I need to get on this. The number one thing you've got to think about is sustainability. Can I eat this way for the next 6 months? Now, obviously, if you lose 15 pounds on like a juice diet, that's fine. But if that happens in like 10 days, can you do that for another 10 days? What do you do when you start to stall out? Do you just drink more juice, or less juice, or whatever it is? You eat more keto? If you're eating clean, what do? Do you eat cleaner? What you have to think about is a couple of things. So number one is your body requires X amount of calories to exist, to function, and for a lot of hormonal things to happen. However, at your current weight, if you let's say you have 50 pounds to lose, at your current weight, it also requires a certain amount of calories to maintain. Figuring out how many calories you need to maintain is step one. Basically, you have to figure out, number one, how many calories do I need? And then number two, how many calories am I eating during the day? Now, typically, if you're trying to figure this out yourself, a lot of the times it's kind of a long process, because really what happens is you've got to do all the math by yourself. You've got to do something. You've got to figure out maybe that you'll use a Harris-Benedict equation. Or a lot of the times what you'll do is you'll kind of track all your food for the last 3 days and say, okay, on Saturday, I kind of went a little wild. I maybe had like 3,000 calories. I went out to Stacked. I got myself a burger. I had 2 beers. We went out and saw a movie. I got some popcorn. I had kind of a wild Saturday. Sunday, I hit some brunch, and then the rest of the day, I kind of didn't really eat anything because I was so full. What's up, Arlene? So what we need to do is, and then Monday, obviously, you're back on the routine. It's like, all right, work. I got to pack my lunch. I got to get back in my diet. What we have to do is we have to take a average of all 3 days. We have to think Saturday, we have to think Sunday, have to think Monday, and then we need to average all that stuff and say, okay, this is the amount of calories that I'm normally taking in during the day. And for many people, what happens is they eat really well Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday, or maybe Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they completely blow up all of their plans. And so, yes, you may be eating 600-700 calories on Thursday, but if you go out on Friday night and you have a 1,200 calorie meal like at BJ's Brewhouse, which is a true thing, it's all on the thing. Well, if you have 600 calories on Thursday and you have 3,000 calories on Friday, the average of that is obviously 3,600. What we've got now is we've got a 1,800 calorie diet. All right, on average. So for many people, what happens is when they step in to a juice cleanse or a keto or a diet or something like that, it's basically moved them from this kind of extreme where they're eating a ton of calories over the weekend, they're eating not a whole lot, and then basically what they're doing is they've got a new low throughout the whole day. It's juice cleanse or whatever. However, it's not sustainable. So for most people, what we need to do is not that we need to throw the diet away, but actually what we need to do is we need to be realistic about A, what are the foods that I really like? B, am I getting in enough protein throughout the day? And then 3, or A, B, and C, whatever it is, we also need to understand how much food do I normally need to maintain my current weight? And then I need to kind of sit under that. So for most people, what we do is we actually say, okay, normally if I'm having 1,800 calories and I'm maintaining my weight, I need to reduce it by 10%. That's kind of the first step. So maybe I'm going to cut off maybe 200 calories. Now, what is 200 calories in your diet? Well, 200 calories is that's like a bag of M&Ms. All right, so that's basically the equivalent of what you're cutting out of your diet. It's not a whole lot. It's not crazy, but it's also not going to feel like a lot. So when you're eating and you start to, you cut off maybe 50 calories out of every single meal, you don't notice it at all. It doesn't feel like you're on a diet. And so what happens is now it becomes a little bit more sustainable. You don't really feel like you're doing a whole lot and you're slightly going down towards the end. And then the third thing that we do is you've got to hold yourself accountable. That's the third leg on our little plan here, is you have to hold yourself accountable. Now, holding yourself accountable there's kind of many layers to all this stuff, right? You've got a workout plan. We're going to build muscle. We're going to get you sweaty. We're going to get fit. We're going to be very consistent with the plan. We're going to go an hour a day, 3 days a week. The nutrition, we need to make sure that we're eating protein, we're eating enough carbs and fat so we have energy throughout the day, but we're not eating enough food that we're either maintaining our weight or gaining. We're basically very honest with ourselves about kind of what are our habits Monday through Friday as well as Saturday and Sunday. And then also we're going to sleep. Now, doing all of that stuff is fine for the first 2 weeks. That's when the motivation is super high, but really what we need to be honest with ourselves is week 3, we're going to go back into our old habits. We're going to say, oh man, work got really busy, and then I had this thing with my friends, and a couple glasses of wine later. You cannot be successful in week 3 because typically that's where we see a lot of people slip back into old habits. You may not be aware of it and it's still too late, but that's where typically most people fall off the wagon. So you need to have some accountability. You need to have somebody, some people, a group, something that's going to hold you accountable. And there's a couple of strategies that I'm going to give you right now. Number 1, join a gym. Okay, obviously this is a shameless plug for my gym, but obviously this is what we do. all the training and the nutrition that we teach you, this is all stuff that you can find online, do at home, all that. But really where the glue, the bread and butter is making sure that you hit your goals. So if you want to join our gym, obviously check out jfchallenge.com. You can see what our 6-week challenge is all about. Or find some friends and maybe do a boot camp in the park. Those are really successful. I love boot camps in the park. It's a lot of fun. Obviously, you're outside, you're running, you're doing stuff in the parking lot. Get involved in like a Biggest Loser at work. They have these challenges all the time. Obviously, the companies get a huge benefit from their insurance companies with people who are in better health and working out and being fit. And obviously, it's nice to lord it over your coworkers that you're losing weight. And obviously, you're surrounded by your coworkers. So when they're talking about diets and they're talking about prepping food and they're talking about just being better and showing up to work better, this becomes the norm. All right, it's not weird to say no to free donut Fridays. It's not weird to say no to going out for lunch. It's not weird to pack your own food and bring it in for several meals. These are the things that, ironically, social pressure is a huge driver in terms of how people make decisions. There's another one that I really like. It's called the Blackmail Diet. This was actually a book that I read a really long time ago when I first started getting into the gym. There was a guy, and I'm sorry I can't remember what this guy's name was, but what he did was he had some crazy amount of weight to lose. He had like a 75-pound weight goal. So what he did was he said, I want to lose 75 pounds, and then I need to do it in a year. So what he did was he had a friend who was a lawyer. He put something like, let's say $5,000 in escrow. So basically he couldn't touch the money. His friend couldn't touch the money. There was like stipulations on who can touch the money. He said, if I don't lose 75 pounds, this money must be donated to something like the Nazi Party of the United States under my name. So people know that I donated $5,000 to the Nazi Party. So when you have $5,000 on the line, and number two, you have the pride and the shame of your family also riding on the fact that you're going to be associated with the Nazi Party, there is a huge motivation to at least get to that finish line. And in fact, he did lose that weight, and he did it again. He's like, all right, I lost 75 pounds. I've got to keep it off. I've always lost the weight. I've never been able to keep it off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it again. I'm going to donate it to the KKK. And if I don't keep this 75 pounds off in the next year, it's an escrow, it gets donated and stuff like that. He essentially had something to risk. There was something that kept him there. There was something that basically motivated him outside of just, wanting to work out. There was something that was driving him bigger than just himself. For some people, this could be your kids. It's just like, listen, I'm embarrassed that, I'm out of breath in front of my kids. It could be a wedding is coming up. You're going to be showing up in front of your husband or wife or your family, or there's going to be 1,000 pictures, and it's like, this is how people are going to remember me. There could be a marathon coming up. You've got a drop dead date of, listen, I have to be able to run a marathon come May or April 20th. These could be giant motivators that are going to keep you accountable, things that are outside of yourself. So those are the three big things. Number one is, if you have all three of these components, training, nutrition, and accountability, all of these will compound the fact. And so all of a sudden now, instead of just losing 10 pounds, you're losing 25 pounds. If it's just one thing, you're going to hit a wall. You're not going to understand how to make progress. So it's like, yes, I lost 10 pounds just ellipticaling and working out more, but now when I'm on pound 11, what do I do? How do I change things? How do I change my eating habit? What do I do differently to work out? How do I add stuff without beating the shit out of myself? All of these things are important to know. And when you start changing your diet, you start sleeping more, you start having a better mindset about it, you start being consistent. And then obviously you set a accountability goal, some sort of date that you've got to do all this stuff by, you are going to be successful. So again, if this is something that, this is like, I don't want to make this like an hour-long video, but if this is something that you have questions about, you've got comments, I'd love to chat with you about it. Put it in the comments. If you're interested in seeing what the gym has to offer, we've got www.jfchallenge.com, and you can check it out and see if this is something for you. Obviously, we'd love to see you in the gym. And someone's calling me right now, so I'm going to go pick that up. But I hope everybody's having a great day, and we'll chat with you later.